Hi, my name is Karinne Bessette, and I am here to host your Friday Tech Bites here with Veeam Software. And I am in Central Ohio. I am joined today by Kirill. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Corinne. Hi, audience. My name is Kirill. I'm a customer support engineer at Veeam. I'm from Canada. Nice to be here.
Yes, and as we introduced ourselves, we encourage everyone joining us to definitely post down in all of the chats, wherever you're listening in from. Tell us where you are so we can go ahead and light up the map. If you're familiar with the stream, you should be very familiar with the map at this point, and we look forward to see who's listening in with us. So to start off, Kirill and I are here because we are going to be at VeeamON, and we're going to be presenting a topic for you. So, Kirill, do you want to go ahead and cover kind of like what we're excited to show within our topic?
Yeah, so much excited about talking about IaaS and how Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 can fit into this concept really well. So yeah, going to be sharing some details about this today so that you can have a better understanding of what we're going to be talking on VeeamON session, which I'm really excited to be a part of.
Yeah, it's super excited. I don't think you'll be able to join us in person, but you're going to be up in our virtual, which is completely free this year as well. You'll be there answering questions, making sure people get their content answered online, and you're going to be in the chat and helping out with some of my sessions even in person to make sure the online audience gets to feel like they're involved with us. Our topic is going to be on architecting Microsoft 365 on IaaS for the provider. So seeing the economics behind it, definitely if you're not a provider, you can still implement a lot of these technologies. And we're going to take a look at our journey slide. This journey slide is like the sneak peek to our session, and we're going to cover some of the basics on this slide. But if you really want the raw content, I definitely recommend registering online if you haven't already. So let's cover the first topic here. So we will be talking about Veeam backup for Microsoft 365 components. This is something that you work with a lot in your daily life, right, Krill?
Exactly, yes. Luckily, there are not many components, just maybe four maximum. So yeah, it's a good topic. We can cover this. Let's dive into this.
Yeah, so starting off with the core and the heart, the Veeam backup for Microsoft 365 management server. And no, that's not a stutter. If you didn't catch Tech Bites a couple weeks ago, we did rename this product. It is no longer Veeam backup for Microsoft Office 365. It's just Veeam backup for Microsoft 365. With this, we also released a lot of new features like the self-service restore portal and the backup copy feature, which we will be kind of weaving into some considerations when sizing out your infrastructure. So talk to us a little bit about proxies.
The proxy is the working force, in quotes, of the whole backup process. Widely used is a mandatory for data processing. Very much important is to always make sure that this proxy is well maintained, like has enough resources and is not degrading its performance. So yeah, quite important component. I would say the second in the list after, of course, the controller.
Right. So you can have a lot of proxies attached to this single controller, and will help you figure out how many that is, when it's actually necessary to scale out versus that simple type of deployment where all you got to do is pretty much install it and run.
Yep.
Another big topic is local repository, or do we go to object storage? Now, I am a big and huge fan of the object storage because of the volatile data types that happen with, say, OneDrive and SharePoint. Do you have a preference when working with it, or some tips on the background for one versus the other?
I wouldn't be actually comparing them. They both meant for slightly different purposes. I mean, the big picture, of course, the same is to just store the repository data. Object storage repository is very flexible, which is great solution for architects working on IaaS implementation. perfect choice. Local repository is just a simple disk that might be attached to the machine. It can be then again backed up using our products so that it can be moved to a different server if there is a need. So yeah, quite flexible as well.
Yeah. So kind of tailoring in directly into the infrastructure as a service type of deployment, because we definitely want to give you some context around these components, but we also want to tell you how the best practice kind of implement into the economics when you're working with infrastructure as a service, especially on like AWS or Azure or any of the other major cloud providers when installing our product. And you said you had some tips that you wanted to tease from our session.
Yeah, definitely. I do have some tips, for what I usually suggest our customers to look for when deploying to IaaS. And the first is the foremost, in my opinion, is to, it might sound a little bit boring, but it's just, I always want to make sure that all requirements are met. Please, for all stakeholders, you take a look on the requirements list. Luckily, it's not that long. It's quite short. Just make sure all the requirements for deploying our solution is met. That's easy part. Second thing I can probably give a good tip is to if you deploy the object storage in a cloud, obviously make sure that your Microsoft 365 environment and object storage repository are located in the same region. This is important so that we can avoid egress charges. The last part probably is you need to make sure that I already mentioned that the proxy and all other resources well maintained. Just take a look at the servers from time to time, make sure it doesn't deplete resources. And if you see that there is some issues with that, we do support scale up, scale out. Either give more resources or give more servers to your infrastructure. That's how easy it is.
So 3 great takeaways, and just kind of reiterating these points. So the first point that you had was about making sure you size the infrastructure properly. Sizing is incredibly important. Now we do anything from AWS Marketplace or Azure Marketplace, we do have recommended deployment architectures for what type of IaaS machine you should deploy onto. So that does take some of the conversation out. Your second point was around the object storage and the backup server and the proxies all being within the same region. I know that's a huge cost savings, but let's talk a little bit about the speed differences that you can get without having to export and re-import data into the cloud infrastructure.
Speed differences. I wouldn't say there are much speed differences. It's always the product is designed the way to optimally be like give a best performance. It could. I mean, it can be tweaked a bit. For that, we would love to help. If just customer can reach out to support team. We have some means to make sure it goes smoothly and as quick as possible. But again, the product was designed in optimal fashion, so it should be pretty quick.
So I do want to reach out and encourage anyone in the audience that has any kind of questions. Let us know. We'll try to get those answered live. But I have been informed our map is ready. Let's go ahead and get our map up.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's see who's joining us. So first off, I see here is in the Americas. It's going to be Arizona, Minneapolis, Michigan, and Mexico. All right. Let's see. Yep. Next, heading over to Europe, we have France, Germany, United Kingdom, Armenia, Albania, and I do say one of our close people in the background here, Kat, that must be you over there in France with us. Now down to the South America, as it seems, we got Brazil and Chile on the board. Awesome. And now into the Middle East, we have the United Arab Armenians, Kuwait, Egypt, Turkey, and India. Always like getting those big ones on the map. It makes it start to fill out really green.
Yeah.
And I think that we got all of them there. Again, if you're late coming into the game, go ahead and post in the chat where you're from. We'll do another rendition before we get off of here of our map. And I think you have a demo ready for us. We're going to demo one of the calculators that we're going to be doing a live demonstration on for VeeamON Virtual.
Yeah,
Kirill? Yeah.
totally. Yes. So yeah, the reason, yeah, just a couple words on this. I often see questions on how to properly size the storage for repository for Microsoft 365 solution backups. And actually, it's not the only way to size it. There are actually three ways that you should be aware of. The first one is the calculator. This is a online tool that is available for everybody. You can just type this URL. We can share this link later with you, and go there and size your organization properly. There's also great support from community. There are some nicely built tools like Excel spreadsheet. I use it many times. It's really nice and easy to follow as well. And the last measure is we do have the PowerShell command that you can just run. It's called the measure VBO organization full backup size, with the only limitation that it's only available for basic authentication organization, but we're working on making sure it's available for all types of organizations. So yeah, now back to this demo here. This is a calculator.veeam.com website. And as you can see, there are two options here. Since we talk about Microsoft 365, this is where I'm going to. Just click this link here, and you have two options. You can either connect to your Microsoft 365 account, or just go without authorization and type some values manually, so it can give you an understanding of the expectation of expected backup size. So yeah, as soon as you log in here,
So you're just logging in with an account that has administrative access to this organization?
correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to have some sort of administrative level to get those type of statistics.
Exactly, yeah. So it has to be account with administrator privileges. Just a second. Of course, it's an MVA, so make sure I'm not.
Typing on camera is always my worst. Like, wait, is that a 7 or is that a 6? What am I doing here?
Yeah. So yeah, as soon as you connect your organization, that's how convenient it is. You don't actually need to do much here. You can just see this nicely built UI. It's a great tool. You can see the dashboard. It shows what's the license usage. Like you can see how much license was consumed and for what entities, because these are the units, I would say, that we use in Veeam Backup Microsoft 365. So it's really convenient. Next one is backup sizing. This is what we just have been discussing by now. It's really convenient too. You can play with this. You can specify different retention policy settings for how many years you want to keep it. You can also do some predictions with this tool as well. And it gives you a nice overview at the end, like what's the calculation summaries, what your expectation on the repository side. If you use the object storage, the one that we with Karinne just have been talking about, you can see this consumption here as well. We can see for service providers what would be the total API calls here. It's really convenient for people working on this matter too. And what I really like is that you can export all this information, make sure it's stored somewhere so that you can come back to this later and confirm that all these values were trustworthy, and these ones that you can definitely use for your sizing. The last one is it's a little.
So actually, back on that previous screen, taking a look at the object storage, it's really interesting to see not only do we have the object storage, but that cache size. Could you cover a little bit what that cache size actually means?
Cache size, yes. So how object storage works is that we not directly upload and download all the data to this so-called object storage repository, which would be any S3 compatible device. So what we usually what we do, we come up with some concept of persistent cache. It's stored on your local disk. So all it's a cache. It's all these files that occasionally used are stored there, so that you can save again on ingress and the cost that might be associated with the object storage interactions. So it's really convenient. So yeah, again, we store all this data locally. You can change the size of it if you'd like. You can store it anywhere on any supported repository type. Yeah, that's
Okay,
convenience.
so like when I do a restore process and I'm kind of pathing through my backup files, that means it's all going to be local to that machine. I don't have to go up query object storage in order just to see where my files are.
Exactly. And what, in my opinion, the coolest feature about this local cache repository is that when you, assuming you in the need of a restore, and when you open the Explorer, for instance, Explorer for Exchange, and you don't need to go to the cloud to build a map of the objects that you have in your backup. It's all stored right on your disk. So it's extremely fast, blazingly fast. It just builds all this map of all objects so that you can review them directly in a browser without, I'm sorry, in Explorer without going to the object storage.
Okay, and what are the API calls? Like, what is that what's that alluding to? What are we using with those API calls?
API calls are used for, as I said, for service providers. They can build their own solutions on top of Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, so that with this amount of you can have a better overview of amount of total API calls that will be issued to the object storage repository.
Okay. So that must kind of play a lot into that cost, because I know object storage has a list for how many API calls that you get per like cent or per dollar charge in their infrastructure. So that's
Yep.
definitely going to play into this cost analysis we're about to look at probably.
Yep.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, and cost analysis here.
It's a lot of numbers here.
A lot of numbers, as I said. It gives some, you can turn estimates on, you can turn it off. That will be a little easier to digest for now. But again, it's really convenient the way you can set up the retention policy. On top of that, we even provide the customer with the costing for storing the whole infrastructure in the cloud, like how much it would take to host Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 in Azure here. It's funny. It starts with the highest, the powerful machine that you could ever get from Azure. But again, it's quite flexible. You can choose any instance type that you want here, and this list is immense. Yep. Some trends here. You can see the expectation of how would the data grow over time. And as we've been talking about the API calls trend here, you can see it as well. Yeah.
Can you modify your expected like change over time within here? Like, could you be more modest or more aggressive with how much data that you expect to adopt in your infrastructure?
Yes, you can. If you just enable this forecast estimates, you can, for instance, estimate that for instance, for now, the total size will take just this amount, 0.3, but assuming it will be higher, so that you can estimate, for estimates, it can be as aggressive as you want, or can put any values here, and so that can see trends change. Here we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a good tool, and again, it's not the only one. There are many alternatives. People can use others. But yeah, also what is important is to be mindful of the versioning in SharePoint. This is a little more advanced topic, but just to make sure that we do store all these versions separately. So you need to be aware of this too, of every object, of every single object in a SharePoint and OneDrive.
Is there any way for like a customer to be able to export any of this data so that they could provide, like if you're a service provider, especially from the service provider standpoint, you may not originally have access to that account and they may be asking you for all this data. Could you be like, can you go here and type in your information and send me a report back so I can give you a better, instead of mysterious outlets?
Yeah. Luckily, there is export capabilities in this tool, so every information that you modify here and you basically develop can be exported. It's I believe it's exported in PDF format, which is really convenient, so you can share it to your customer. Uh, and yeah, see basically how it's developed there.
Yeah. Can we look at the PDF? I'm curious. I
If it's
love being able to export data and keep it over time.
absolutely,
It's
yeah,
a really
very
clean
nice.
format.
Nicely formatted PDF format here. Gives all information. Uh, can give it to your customer. They would love to see it. Again, all these trends. See what's the projection in the future for storage consumption, things like that, and even some details about every single storage that you have, storage type and API calls as well.
Awesome. And we did get this posted out in the chat for the calculator. We also are talking about the best practice guide for the VBO side. Do you happen to have the best practice guide up? Just a quick view.
Yes, I do. We'll open it in a second.
So the best practice guide isn't just for like Veeam Backup or Microsoft 365, but this is actually written by our combination of our development team and our SEs and our system architects out there. What they do is they kind of gather all of their tribal knowledge and then they put it onto this page to be like a centralized access point for anyone out there. It's completely open to external parties. And we give like tips and tricks that they found out in the field for sizing. They have some great PowerShell scripts I found in here sometimes. And the documentation is usually pretty easy and clear. We are at some maximum configurations and some sizing sections within the design.
Yeah, this portal, I use it all the time. It has some great information, not only about how to build and configure, but also some other knowledge like 3-2-1 rule, how to make sure that networking is properly set up in your infrastructure, things like that. It's really convenient. Again, talking about this build and configure section has many aspects on how you would ideally set up your server in the cloud, how to make sure it's scaled properly. That's what I was talking before about the scaling out versus scaling up. Has many technical things.
So, fun fact, when I started on pitching this presentation for VeeamON, I actually reached out to some of the local SEs and some of the big name SEs out there that are really specific in this product. And I'm like, hey, do you have any recommendations from the field that I can throw into this presentation and make it applicable to you? You don't know how many times you just like sent me this best practice guide. Like,
Yep.
it's already written there. Go take a look.
Yeah, as long as you can, search efficiently there, you can have an answer to basically any question that you might have related to sizing.
Yeah, and we even post in some of the like internal abbreviations or the common abbreviations that we use. So you might see something in there that, oh, I didn't know what that meant. Now I do. I know acronyms have become the bane of my existence. Working in IT, they have an acronym for everything. When you get into business, you're not sure when someone says SMB, am I a small message blog? Are we a small business? How are we doing this? All right. So we actually have some other great resources prepared, and this is more essentially around the backup topic for Microsoft 365. The first one we have here is going to be the Conversational Ebook for Microsoft Teams. And I think we'll have a QR code. Yep, we have a QR code here for you to scan. We might be able to also get this link posted out in the chat for you. This conversational ebook is around the complexities that happen when we're talking about Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams is not a self-contained application. It's actually an abstraction layer for front-end collaborations of a lot of back-end data entities. You've been with us for a while. You remember how we were previously able to only back up some of those back-end data entities inside of Teams, like through Exchange and OneDrive. And then explaining how we need that metadata in order to finish and have a complete backup process. This book covers what you need to be aware of, and then how we're able to now use the new Microsoft API in order to get that data downloaded properly. The next resource we have here is how the Microsoft 365 backup solution works. It will be a little bit more high level, but it's in a nice organized format and the mindset that you should be kind of like walking into building your infrastructure out. I recommend starting with this easy technical guide, getting your plan laid out, and then coming over to something like our best practice guide, getting in with this calculator to get the specifics for that architect and a good idea where to start, and then giving yourself like that 10% buffer for resources, of course, because it's kind of hard to plan that out sometimes. Now, the last slide I have here is actually on VeeamON itself. I know that I am super excited. I will be in person. It will take a lot for me not to be able to make it there live in person Vegas. This is going to be May 16th to 19th, but there are a lot of us out there that may not feel comfortable with that yet. So we have a completely free virtual online experience. There's going to be some content virtually given that will not be given in person. And then there's going to be some collaborative sessions that we have what we've deemed the hybrid. And you're able to not only listen to what's happening in person, but ask questions. They'll get asked live inside the room. So signing up for free, you get a lot of access to this event. Coming in person, you get to have the entire experience with us live. And if you get registered, you're going to be able to be signed up for those neat Air Force that I'm still jealous that I haven't gotten yet.
Like, I wish I can go.
I want them. I would wear them. If I get them, I will wear them on stage in Vegas. I promise. Do you have any closing thoughts for us, Kirill?
No, just excited to be a part of the VeeamON and this team as a whole.
Well, we do appreciate everyone logging in with us. I don't see any questions that's come in, but we do appreciate you joining us and hope you have a nice rest of your Friday.
Happy Friday.